Am I the bad guy for refusing to let my friend's psychic do an exorcism on me? A while back, I had the chance to visit a friend who had moved to Colorado a few years earlier. I hadn't seen her since her second child was born, and after winning a lawsuit, she was finally in a position to invite me out. She even bought me a ticket just before Christmas, which was incredibly generous of her. We had a great time together, decorating her Christmas tree, teaching her oldest child how to play chess, and hiking. However, things took a turn when we had a disagreement about vaccinations during one of our hikes. She expressed her fears about saying the wrong thing, and I reassured her that our friendship wouldn't be affected by our differing opinions. The next day, she surprised me with a psychic reading, something she regularly does. I thought it would be a fun experience, but the moment I walked in, the psychic hit me with, "How long have you had a problem with your weight?" I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, come on, that's not exactly a groundbreaking revelation. Plus, I'm a strong advocate for body positivity, so she picked the wrong feature to criticize. I looked at my friend, expecting her to share a laugh, but she seemed stressed instead. The psychic continued, claiming that my weight issues were due to a demon attached to me, not the fact that I had been working from home and not exercising since 2020. I told her I didn't see my weight as a problem, and she insisted that was just the demon talking. At that point, I couldn't contain my laughter, which only led to her kicking me out. I ended up waiting on her porch for an hour while she finished the reading with my friend. Later, when we were back at her house, my friend confronted me, saying she thought I had been rude to the psychic. To my surprise, she agreed with the psychic that I should have an exorcism. She asked if I would consider it with anyone else, but kept interrupting me, so I never got to explain my thoughts. As she walked away, she told me I could believe I was right if I wanted, and when I tried to continue the conversation, she suggested I could leave if I wanted to keep arguing. The next day, she called an Uber for me to the airport without saying goodbye, and later told a mutual friend that I was just argumentative, and she was tired of it. Looking back, I wonder if I was insensitive for laughing at her spiritual leader, especially since she was feeling vulnerable with her pregnancy. I also thought about whether I should have just played along to keep the peace. My friend isn't a scam artist. She genuinely believes in the people she spends money on, like life coaches and breath workers. I guess her generosity sometimes comes with a customer service mentality, and maybe she expected that paying for the psychic would make me more agreeable than I was. In the end, I'm left wondering if I should have just gone along with it for her sake.
Am I the bad guy for refusing to share or split Father's Day with my kid's stepdad and for refusing to invite him along to father-kid activities? I have 3 kids under 10 with my ex-wife, and our relationship ended years ago. Since then, we've maintained a 50-50 custody split during the school year and a 14-14 arrangement in the summer. We alternate major holidays, with her getting Mother's Day and me getting Father's Day. This arrangement has worked well for us, mainly because we don't get along, and sticking to the court-ordered plan helps avoid unnecessary conflict. However, things took a turn when my ex remarried 2 years ago. Since then, she has been pushing for her husband to be included in our Father's Day celebrations. She first brought this up right after they got married, and I firmly said no. I repeated my stance last year, and this year she started asking even earlier. She argues that her husband, who is unable to have children of his own, deserves to be celebrated for being a good parent to our kids. I suggested that she share Mother's Day with him since that's her day, but she insisted it wouldn't be the same and accused me of being selfish. Last year, she even tried to get a judge to change our custody order to give her husband rights on Father's Day, but the judge denied her request. She also attempted to add her husband's birthday to the custody order, which I found puzzling since our birthdays aren't included. Now, she's furious with me for refusing to share Father's Day. Her husband has been distant with me since I first said no, and it's become more uncomfortable this year. I've seen him at a couple of kids' activities, and he even tried to insult my parenting skills. I chose to walk away to avoid any conflict in front of the kids. The situation gets even more complicated with the kids' activities. They often have events that celebrate Father's Day, and my kids always want me to participate. My ex has been pushing for them to invite their stepdad, but they've consistently said no, stating that it's for their dad, not him. They also asked me to join in on other activities like sports games, and they've made it clear they don't want their stepdad involved. My daughter sometimes has moments where a dad is needed, and she asks for me, again excluding her stepdad. My ex believes that if I include her husband in these activities, it will help the kids feel more comfortable inviting him in the future. She argues that there are enough events for us to share, but I feel that if the kids don't want him there, it's not my place to force it. I told her that if she doesn't want him to feel like an outsider, she should respect the kids' wishes. For weeks now, she has been angry with me, and it shows in our communications. Her messages have become noticeably shorter and more tense. She accused me of being selfish for not encouraging the kids to accept her husband as a second dad, and warned me that if her marriage fails because he feels unappreciated, I would be to blame. I made it clear that her marriage is not my concern, and I won't push my kids to include someone they don't want to. To minimize conflict, I've started reducing our contact outside of the app we use for communication. I still attend the kids' events, but try to keep my distance from her and her husband. I can't help but wonder if I'm in the wrong for wanting to keep Father's Day as a special day just for me and my kids. Am I the bad guy in this situation? Found out my GF, 23F, had her IUD removed a year ago, and we have a 2-month-old son together now. Not sure how to feel and what to do. I recently found out something that turned my world upside down. I'm a 29-year-old man, and my girlfriend, who is 23, had her IUD removed without telling me. She had previously assured me that she had it replaced, so when I learned the truth, it felt like a punch to the gut. This revelation came to light in March 2025, and by then, we already had a 2-month-old son together. Initially, I was in disbelief. Friends around me, who didn't particularly like her, suggested that she had removed it and was lying to me. I tried to dismiss their concerns, thinking they were just being judgmental. When I confronted her about it, she got defensive, which I interpreted as a natural reaction to a serious accusation. I didn't have any proof, so I decided to let it go for the time being. We had talked about the possibility of abortion since I was still navigating a divorce and didn't feel ready for another child. I made it clear that I wouldn't dictate her choices regarding her body. I had taken a risk by being intimate with her, believing she was protected. We had a good relationship, and I genuinely liked her. I thought we were building something meaningful together. As time passed, we grew closer, and I accepted that we were in this together, especially with a baby on the way. Fast forward to our son's birth in December 2025, and I was feeling optimistic about our future. But then, a couple of months later, I discovered the truth about her IUD. After some back and forth, she finally admitted that she had removed it and intended to replace it but didn't think she would get pregnant right away. She confessed that she felt stupid for not telling me and had lied because she didn't want to appear as if she was trying to trap me. Hearing her explanation was a mix of relief and betrayal. I wanted to believe her, but the fact that she had kept this from me felt hurtful. I'm someone who struggles with trust, and this revelation made me question everything. I care about her, and despite the circumstances, I felt a bond with her. But the deception weighed heavily on my mind. When she asked if I was done with her, now that I knew the truth, I hesitated. I'm not one to seek conflict, so I told her I wasn't ready to end things. After all, we had a child together, and there was no going back. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I felt like I was spinning, trying to process my emotions, while also managing the responsibilities of being a father to 2 kids and dealing with the aftermath of my divorce. I'm reaching out for advice on how to handle this situation. It's a lot to unpack, and I'm struggling to find clarity. I know I need to get my life back on track, but this lie has left me feeling unsettled and unsure about the future.
Am I the bad guy for telling my coworker she owes me a new iPad and textbooks because she is the reason they got stolen? I work as a paramedic in a rural area, and let me tell you, it can be quite a challenge. I'm 31 years old, and I've had my fair share of experiences, but nothing quite prepared me for what happened recently with a coworker named Carol, who is 28. I find her to be lazy and a bit of a know-it-all, which makes working together pretty difficult. One day, we had to transport a patient to a larger city hospital that wasn't in the best neighborhood. Due to the parking situation, we often have to park on the street next to the emergency department. I had been warned by security that this area was a blind spot for the hospital's cameras and that break-ins had occurred before. They advised me to always lock the ambulance when parking on the street. So, before we went inside, I specifically told Carol to lock the doors. I was in the back with the patient, and unfortunately there's no way to lock the doors from there. After we finished our call and returned to the ambulance, I instinctively grabbed the door handle, only to find it wide open. My heart sank as I realized my backpack, which contained 2 chemistry textbooks and my iPad, was missing. I confronted Carol asking if she had locked the doors as I had instructed. She shrugged it off, claiming she had forgotten because she was focused on the call and insisted it wasn't a big deal. At that moment, I felt a wave of frustration. I told her about my missing items and demanded that she reimburse me for the textbooks and the iPad, which totaled nearly $700. To my dismay, she flat out refused, saying it was just bad luck. I was furious. I spoke to our supervisors, who mentioned that I might have grounds for legal action since there's an audio camera in the cab that recorded me telling Carol to lock the doors. However, they cautioned me about the potential fallout of taking such action against a coworker I would still need to work with regularly. I was torn. I needed my job, and being a paramedic is already stressful enough without adding more drama. But losing that much money was a significant blow, especially since I'm also a full-time student. My shifts are 24 hours long, and I often use that downtime to study, so losing my bag meant losing precious study time. After some reflection and reading the responses from others, I realized I might have been a bit harsh in my approach. I snapped at Carol, which wasn't going to solve anything. I also learned that the ambulance we were using had a specific design that made it impossible to access the back from the cab, so I couldn't have locked the doors myself. In the end, I decided to file a report with the police after my shift. It was a tough lesson learned about responsibility and communication. But I knew I had to take action to protect myself and my belongings.